today,
Yeah, let's do it.
enjoyour24 episode 27. Giulianna Ome, life coach, social media influencer, the host of Dear Lovers podcast. She does everything, man. She's very versatile. She's on the pod today, and honestly, what more can you ask for?
Thank you for having me on, you guys. Yeah, if you want to go check out the podcast, definitely give it a look-see. I talk about important life issues, current events, relationships, romantic and otherwise. So I'll have a lot of guests on my podcast as well, and we'll give all our unique perspectives and moving the discourse in unexpected ways. So come along for the ride.
Everything we're about to talk about, the first thing, I'm looking at
High value man.
Yeah, so as of right now, and I've said this before on the last episodes, what's considered to be high value man is especially in Vancouver right now, it's about how much money you make, what's your social status in terms of how many friends you have, what car do you drive, where do you live, what's your career. For a man, that's for a guy. But for
a guy, that sounds pretty basic, pretty everywhere. That would be the answer to every girl's thing. Because if you literally show a girl, let's say you show the girl the same guy, and you show her this one guy who's wealthy, and then you show this other girl the same guy, but he looks like he's disheveled, who are they going to pick? Right. You'd obviously go for the wealthier guy, but not because he's wealthy, but because money is just like a symbol of all the hard work and effort he's put into it. It's just symbolic in that sense. But a lot of girls that I've noticed, they won't say things like that. They won't practically address the things that are attractive about a guy. They'll say, oh yeah, I'd like somebody who listens and this and that. And that's good. That's what will retain a girl. But when you're starting a relationship, you're first encountered by what you see and how hard they work. Right. So, I mean, generally, I don't think, your career is something that is a bad thing you shouldn't talk about, especially in relationships. I think it's something important.
Okay, for example, for men, when we look at a woman, we don't think of how much
career,
they make.
No.
We don't think it's a part of it. Not. You know what I mean? When it gets serious and we, really take the next step, I do want my partner to be able to be independent and working towards something. But I just find it to keep it nice unfair that that's one of the things that women need to look at for a man. It's just I don't find it. I think
being a man is pretty difficult. I mean, I'm not a man, but I imagine you as a man would know that it's pretty difficult to be a man because you see a lot of men working in different, there's just men in everything. Men who are in the army, men who are in technical jobs, builders, and men who are dying from that too. So, I mean, being a man is really difficult. Being a courageous man is extremely difficult. And that's what makes a high value man. In fact, I wanted to ask you, what is your definition for a high value person? Let's just say person, not just man, but high value individual.
So, I mean, for me, someone that has ambition, someone that isn't lazy, that has a goal in mind, takes care of themselves in terms of I'm not saying get a chiseled six-pack or a supermodel body, but someone that puts in the effort to take care of themselves. Loyalty is big for me, but I'm glad you say that because men do have it way tougher than women right now. And the thing is and that's another thing you got into, and I appreciate the fact that you got into it about feminism and how it's really putting a bad image on men. Can you expand on that a little bit? I remember watching the TikTok, but I kind of...
Right. Well, I mean, if we talk about feminism, first wave feminism was okay. First wave feminism is what I would stand for. I'm more of a pro man as much as I am a pro woman, because I think we both need each other to make anything work, to make society work, to make a family work, to make whatever it is in life that we're doing together work, right? In the video that I mentioned, I said that there is a gender warfare going on, and it's been going on for years, really, and it's been the little nudge that has been pushing not just the United States, but everywhere. It's just been going nudging, because feminism, third wave feminism, is all about becoming more of a man and feminizing everything except for the woman itself. In fact, have you ever heard the word masculinized?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's not a very common word. You don't hear it very often, because we're always hearing about the over feminization of everything around us. Everything is being feminized constantly. And men are being feminized because there are extreme Nazi feminists who are teaching, everybody how to be a feminist. And then women come to the ideology that, oh, you know what? I don't need no man. So I'm just going to raise my child, my young son, my young man, however I feel it appropriate. And then you get feminized boys, and you can't really teach a young boy how to be a man if he doesn't have a father figure.
Right.
So, which is actually something I wanted to segue into, is what do you guys think about Jordan Peterson? He's big on making men lately, and he's a big paternal figure for many men, especially in Canada.
Right. I agree with a lot of things Jordan Peterson says. I know he's criticized a lot. I one thing he always says, that men need to be, what is he usually? He's like, men need to be monsters in a way, where they need to have that masculine figure, and they need to understand that there are differences still. What do you think, Alex? I know you know more about Jordan Peterson.
Well, I mean, I don't really actually know that much about him. I know who he is, and I know why he's controversial. I don't see a lot of these conversations as just black and white. There's a lot of nuance, and unfortunately, with the way things are going, people don't really want to have nuanced. I don't know if it's that they don't want to have nuanced conversations, or that they're incapable of having nuanced conversations, but there are things that I agree and disagree with pretty much any person. I could pick out almost any person and find stuff that I like about them, and other things that I disagree with, and that's okay. We can have opposing views. I don't mind having conversations about politics with people that are on opposing sides. And in fact, actually, I'm not going to say which way I lean, but I actually go out of my way to read news sources from all sides of the table, because I want to get a more holistic view, and I like to see other people's point of view too, because I can somewhat appreciate that. So I think a lot of that has been lost today, and I think you can apply that to Jordan Peterson. I think you can apply that to a lot of people.
Nuanced conversations are just not being held anymore because of the mass fear of being canceled, or you're not having the politically correct conversation or whatever. And it's good to read everything. It's good to inform yourself as much as possible. In fact, that is one of the qualities of being a high value man or woman, is to be curious and want to grow and want to learn as much as you humanly can.
Right.
And then make your own assumptions and your own perception about a topic.
Right. I just want to kind of understand, like, because I know you do a lot of, you give a lot of advice for, attraction. You talk a lot about dating and things like that. I just, honestly, I understand most of your points, but at the end of the day, it still comes back to me thinking that it just depends on who you are, as like what your name is, what your status is. Like, I give this example all the time. I've told Alex this before. I always tell my friends, I'm like, you ask a girl to hang out, and she says, "Oh no, I can't. I have to go study, or I have to go do this later." I guarantee you, if Drake was the one asking, she wouldn't be like, "Oh, I gotta go do this. I gotta do that." She'd be like, "Oh yeah, what do we do?" Like, she'd be all over it. Like, I don't care what it. I don't really care what it comes down in terms of like the little nuances of like how to approach and how to go about it. I know it works, but at the end of the day, it just depends on who you are.
You're saying you don't like the fact that somebody who has more status would be able to like get the attention of somebody or be able to overpass or her boundaries, sort of. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't trust girls. I don't believe it when girls say that they are looking for this certain type of person, and that they don't care about these things, but when it comes down to it, it's the only thing that matters. That's my point.
I think that's kind of a generalization, right, that you can't really make, because there are so many different opinionated women who have different, likes and dislikes. That's actually what makes a high value woman, is something that, how do I explain this? High value woman is somebody who has respect for herself and her boundaries. So let's say Drake, like you said, Drake asks her out, and she actually has to study for this exam that she's taking because she's in college or whatever. And if she is a high value woman, it doesn't matter who the heck you are. She will say, "No, I'm studying for my exam. I have to study for this exam because this matters to me," because she has self-respect and she understands, well, what's going to be better, me just having fun in the meantime, or actually studying for this, or working for this, or preparing for this job, or whatever that may be. So I understand where you're coming from. I think a lot of women are manipulative. I mean, it is just something in our nature, but as human beings, it's in our nature to look out for who? Me. I'm going to look out for me, right? And that's just how guys and girls are. I encourage people on my TikTok, on my podcast, on my YouTube channel, I encourage people to be the best version that they can be of themselves. That will prolong your life, that will make you happier, that will make people around you more attracted to you, because that's what a high value man does, right? A high value man attracts women to him because he's got status, he's got confidence, he is smart, but he also is assured in himself. And that's what a high value woman does as well. She's sure in herself. And that's why high value men and women are hard to come by, because you'll run into a lot of people who are posing as high value women. You'll run into a lot of women who are, the OnlyFans girlies, who think it's okay to do what they do when it really is commerce and it's prostitution. That might be a little harsh, but it is what it is. And that reminds me of an episode on Fresh and Fit that I was listening, where they interviewed.
I love them.
They're funny.
They're a little. They're over the edge though. Yeah.
They are over the edge, but I think it's funny because this is how people talk. This is just opinionated people who have something to say. So they actually had this group of girls on their podcast where they were interviewing them and asking them about why they do OnlyFans or something like that. And it was incredible to see how defensive, like immediately defensive, these women became, because they're just not, they know deep inside, they have a conscience, and they know deep inside that what they're doing isn't really being a high value woman, even though they're trying to make it seem as such.
Well, I think that's a part of it, is because what we as society have considered a high value woman right now, and I agree with everything you said. Everything you said about being a high value woman is completely, like, I'm in line with that. I agree with you. But what we, like society, social media, consider high value as a woman is, you just have to have good looks and you need to be able to put on makeup pretty well. That's literally what we consider high value as of right now, and it's skewed everything completely apart. And it's almost,
well, I mean, how do you think you can fix that though? I mean, society, I think if we talk as a whole, we as society, well, you can't put yourself in that because obviously you have a different definition of a high value woman. And I can't put myself in society either because I don't think that's what a high value woman is. I think, yeah, a high value woman is beautiful and she takes care of herself. And what makes her beautiful is that she knows that she has to take care of herself because,
100%.
Not a high value woman is somebody who lets herself go and who's like, you know what, I'm not, lets herself go, not just physically, but I mean emotionally, I mean mentally, I mean everything. I'm saying the whole 9 yards. I'm not just saying like physically because, like I said, women want an attractive man just as men want an attractive woman. And it's funny to see both genders get angry at each other when we're direct about what we want. Like men will say, I just want a really pretty girl who, and if she's smart and funny on top of that, that's a plus. I just want somebody who actually likes me. That's what I hear a lot from a lot of the guys that I've come in contact to through my TikTok or podcast is they'll say, I really don't care what type of job she has. I really don't care what family she comes from or how much money she makes or what her career is. I just care that she's smart, pretty, funny, and likes me.
100%. And I know, and I agree. That's at least that's what I think of, Alex. I mean, what do you?
I think that makes a lot of sense. And actually, there was one thing on this sort of subject. There's one thing that I wanted to ask you, Giulianna. And by the way, actually, for the listeners and viewers out there, this is Giulianna Ome, and she is a certified life coach. Is it fair to call you social media influencer, or do you prefer life coach?
I mean, whatever. I think I wouldn't define myself as an influencer, but I do carry a lot of influence. So I like calling myself a certified life coach. But yeah.
Okay. And of course, you have a podcast, the Dear Lovers podcast, which of course everyone should subscribe to immediately.
Yes, go please check us
right
out.
now.
Check us out like right now.
Exactly.
We're upcoming, growing, and there's a Spanish version as well for any Spanish speakers. So, or if you want to learn Spanish, you can just listen to episode 2 and episode 1 and just, these are the same one. So it works out.
Absolutely. I love that. We'll talk more about the Spanish thing later. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you and get your thoughts on is how you feel about the way men seem to be portrayed more often now in movies and TV shows. I've definitely seen a trend with characterization of how they approach men in general. Now they seem to be. Actually, I was just watching this Marvel She-Hulk series on Disney Plus, and it just seems that all the men, except for Bruce Banner's character, it just seems like every male character is just a buffoon. And I've seen, and it's not just this show. I've seen this in a lot of shows, and I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know if these shows are being written by a lot of the same types of groups of people, whoever they are. But I've definitely seen this. There's been a paradigm shift in the way men are portrayed.
Right. Well, I did make a podcast specifically about this, and I talked about how in film people are portraying men, father figures also. You can see it in the Homer Simplification of all the young men in film. They make every father figure, every guy look stupid because it's the whole third wave feminism thing. Men are dumb, women are smart. And I don't think this is part of the gender war thing. I don't think it's valid to tear men down just to bring up women. I mean, we can both be great on our own. Like we don't need to tear anybody down to be amazing. Like we're both pretty cool. I love a masculine man and I love a feminine woman. I don't understand why there has to be like, a woman can't be effeminate and a man can't be masculine.
Well, that's the thing
that's so refreshing to hear, man, from a woman. Fucking hell. I haven't. It's honestly really refreshing. I get that a lot on
TikTok. It's really sad that people need to hear this from a woman. I mean, it's just frustrating to me. Isn't anybody looking up to Candace Owens or anybody who actually has a brain? Everybody's looking up to people like Cardi B, who is literally degrading women. I just had a conversation about this the other day about how it's okay for her to degrade women, but it's not okay for somebody to actually like Candace Owens talk about the issues that we're having, especially in our gender. the masculinization of women that destroys our country, I think, because you're everywhere, actually, just the whole entire world, because women have to bring up young men. Women are the ones who are raising young men, and especially if they're alone and they have no father figure, and they think that, I'm a feminist and my children must be feminist also. You get a whole bunch of unmannered men that are disobedient and then are doing poorly in school, and then you have high suicide rates in men, and so on and so forth.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I grew up with a single mom, and naturally I became a bit of a feminist because I grew up as a mama's boy, like because my mom never really like pushed that like narrative of this is how like you got to treat a woman like this, you got to do that. Just by the way she raised me, I became a well-mannered guy towards women. I don't think you need to like specifically push the narrative on someone like that. And
no, it can be totally subconscious, it can definitely be subconscious, but I think it's wonderful when a mother can start off really strong with her kid, and she's a single mother. It's a lot of work being a single parent. You can see anybody who is a single parent, men and women who are single parents, it takes a toll on you. And I think there's a beauty for women who can be a single mother, but I also think that this child needs a father figure, whether it's a girl or a boy. You need a father figure. Like, I was blessed with an awesome father who taught me from a young age, this is what a gentleman does. This is what a gentleman will do for you. This is how you're supposed to be treated. And then you start creating your standards, right? And having standards is a good thing. Now, having extreme standards is something that young feminist women today are doing, which is like, oh, I need a guy who makes six figures, who's 6'5", and they are like 5'2", right?
It's just
unrealistic
standards.
Unrealistic standards that just you don't need.
And that is bringing, like, I always harp on this one fact. Because of that itself, Giulianna, I don't know how it is in Georgia, but I sense it, I feel it. Men here in Vancouver are having, I'm a psychology major. I see it all the time. The depression and the anxiety with men these days is unbelievable. Like, men,
isn't it crazy?
We are at a disadvantage in every single way, in terms of when we walk in a room, we are already at a competition amongst ourselves, and we are competing to, impress that one girl, impress whoever. And it's just like, I don't understand how people still think, or somehow are thinking, that women are at a disadvantage when more men are committing suicide, more men are homeless, more men have depression, anxiety. Like, where's
makes you wonder about the patriarchy too, doesn't it?
Exactly. And where's the like power different, like dynamic, where are men dominating? I just don't understand that. I don't understand where men are dominating.
Well, I'll explain it to you. So actually, Jordan Peterson talked about this. I saw an interview where he was talking about this with a feminist, actually. And he was saying exactly what you're saying. And then he said, there is a small portion of men who have made it big, who are multimillionaires, who are very successful. And so feminists look at that and they say, all men, because it's so easy for us as humans to generalize. It's really easy to generalize, right? And so they see that and they say, okay, so all men are like this, everybody. So we have to fight it. And women start fighting for this really small amount of men who are up high. They're like, we should be there too. And then they say the patriarchy, and the patriarchy doesn't exist. I mean, the ideology of the patriarchy, who got women to start voting? It was a male vote who got a woman to vote. Yeah, there were many women parading, but they didn't they didn't sign the ballot. You know, they didn't say, okay, yes, we'll be able to vote. No, it was a man. And it wasn't a nice man. This is another thing that people say, it's a nice man. No, it's not a nice man. To be nice is to really be courageous. That man had to be courageous to do something completely different and radical to what was then, you know, to what was accepted back then. So, I mean, this actually touches on something that you wanted to talk about, which was nice guys, right? There's this, everybody's heard the saying, nice guys finish last.
Of course.
I think there's a misconception as to what a nice guy is. And I think they're confusing it with this other definition that I personally dislike as well, but it's simp. And a nice guy is someone who respects a woman and consequently treats that woman properly, you know, and then he knows also the key to this one is that they know when to stop pursuing if they don't see interest on the woman's side, right? That's a nice guy. Now, a simp is the nice guy. You know, he does all this, he respects a woman, blah, 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 but he goes over and above, he goes way too far to try and get the woman, and he sees that she doesn't like him, and he continues persisting. And that is what makes somebody a simp. And sometimes it's like when you're in the eye of a whirlwind or a tornado, you know, you don't see things going crazy like this because you're in the middle of it. But once you look outside, you can see, oh, well, I was actually being a simp. A lot of simps will actually realize later on, oh, I was simping. I should have done that. But you're not a nice guy. A nice guy knows that they have self-respect, and they'll respect a woman until they see, oh, well, she's not interested in me, so I'm just going to deuces, you know, peace out. Like, not going to be here.
Well, I've been on both ends where I have been a simp and I have been a nice guy. Obviously, the simpy part just doesn't work, and it never does. And you're right. When looking back on a retrospect, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, I went way too far. But even when I have been a nice guy, it's just I just don't believe in it. I'd rather be an asshole than a nice guy at this point. And I just. The thing is, you're saying all these things, and I agree on the part where you say, you know, the man needs to have self-respect, but based on experience and the experiences with the friends I've had around me, I've seen when a guy treats the woman a little bit shitty, the woman actually becomes more interested, and they don't know why.
Well, it's reverse psychology. I mean, you're studying psychology, right? So it's reverse psychology, but in the long run, that will damage the relationship because a relationship is built on trust, right? So yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I think, and all the nice guys that I've met will end up living a nice life and being actually happy. They actually do win. My father is a nice guy. He got the girl. He got married. He has a lovely family. You know, a lot of other people, a lot of my extended family friends, I've seen them, their kids, how they get married to nice guys. Nice guys are the type of man who wants to have a serious relationship and wants to commit and finds himself becoming the best version of himself possible, and then he attracts a woman who is also working on herself. There's another huge misconception in the whole dating ideology is that you are going to complete this other person. You will never complete this other person. You have to be complete. You have to be a singular form and then come over and then mesh with this other person. I like to think of a relationship, a healthy relationship, as a ladder. Without any rungs, and your partner has rungs in their back pocket and you have rungs in your back pocket, and as you're going through the ladder of life, you are putting on these rungs and you are helping each other out, but the ladder is already there. You know, you guys were already one. You already had those rungs to work with. You were already a completed person. You're not coming into this relationship to fix anybody or to complete anybody. You are there to add value to somebody's life, which is what a high value man and a high value woman does. So I guess I could say, if you're not interested, if you're not interested in being the nice guy, you're more interested in being, like you said, the asshole.
The thing is,
because you see results.
Right. And the thing is, it's not that I'm not interested in being a nice guy. I've been through it when I was a nice guy and I just completely got destroyed. So,
well, Mo, how old are you though?
I'm 26.
Yeah, see, I mean, you're 26. You've got life in front of you.
Right.
And so it's pretty
I don't know, Giulianna. I guess it's
counteractive. It's working against you though.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's working against yourself because you know to be what's right, and then you see what's wrong, and then you're going ahead and doing what's wrong, even though you're young and you still have life in front of you. You've maybe met a couple mean girls who didn't appreciate your niceness or your courageousness because you had to have some form of courage to even try to get with somebody and talk to somebody, because there's a whole fear of rejection thing. I think a lot of women don't get rejected often. And a lot of guys have to go through the whole rejection phase. Like, men are constantly being rejected. And like you were saying in Vancouver, it's a big thing where women just are standoffish all the time, right? So it's like, I can't really approach her. She's not approachable. And if I try and open the door for her, she'll yell at me. So guys are in this pickle where they don't know how to act.
Right.
And I get that. But I think you should do what you feel is right for you and not try to expect something from this woman. Like, nobody owes anybody anything. If you're nice, you're being nice because you're a nice person and you have respect for yourself. And it feels good to be a nice person. You're not expecting this woman to give you sex, or you're not expecting this woman to even care about you. If she does, good for her. She's got a head on her shoulders. If she doesn't, well, then screw her and move on.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. And it's really, really bad in Vancouver, man. Like, a lot of people that come visit here from other places really notice it, and they're like one of my buddies, he's from Montreal, and whenever he like talks about, like someone he's dating or someone he's seeing, he's like, oh, she's like a typical Vancouver girl. Like, Vancouver women here right now are really, really like, it's like there's like a pedestal and then there's like 10 more levels to it, right, Alex? Like, can you like elaborate? I don't really know how to explain it. I don't have the words.
No, I mean, I'm not really saying that, but I can.
You're not seeing that? Are you serious?
Not with the people I meet.
I mean,
but I can.
I can. Who are you hanging around, Mel?
I mean, it's a thing. It's hard here, man. Like, it's almost to the point where if I am dating someone, it's sort of long term and it's getting serious, and she just one morning gets up and leaves and like gets with another
AWOL.
Yeah, gets with another guy that's, let's say, like a famous artist, famous singer. I would honestly, my reaction would be, well, what did you expect? Like, I get it. Like, I understand. You know what I mean? It's just so like just twisted here now, man.
Alex, what do you think about the whole nice guy?
My reaction wouldn't be I understand that. My reaction would be, this is not a very good person, and I'm probably better off not having this person in my life.
Right.
Okay, but that's 90.
Right? So there's.
I know I'm generalizing, and I hate that, and I shouldn't. But show me.
I know.
Like, I need an
it.
example. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, I think you're going a little too deep. Like, I think you can't really change what they're going to do. You can only impact what you're going to do, which is the beautiful thing about, self-improvement and growth. You can change your appearance. If you don't like how you look physically, you can start going to the gym. If you don't like how you how you think, if you don't like the way that you talk, you can train yourself to talk differently. You can start learning. You can go and read some books. That's the beauty of having the power to do whatever it is you want to do with your life. And I think if we start focusing on, oh, they're not doing this or they're not doing that, you're focusing on them. And what Alex said, I completely agree with. If you see that this person, you measure that this person isn't going to be adding value to your life, they're not really being nice, they're not being kind, they're not caring about you, they're not, spending time with you, spending quality time with you, appreciating you, supporting you as you're supporting them, and all this, then you just move on.
Yeah.
Actually, there's this great quote from Lewis Howes that I saw in a meeting with him and Ben Shapiro. They were talking about how it is for men dating in today's day and age. And what Lewis said was that you should write down everything you want in a partner, everything you want in a woman, everything. And once you write it down, you have a physical piece of paper with all the list. You look at that and then you become that list. You say, I want somebody who is caring. I want somebody who's smart. I want somebody who's funny. I want somebody who's beautiful. I want somebody who takes care of themselves. Whatever that may be, that's different for everybody, right? And you have like a couple non-negotiables. I like saying you have 3 max non-negotiables. And please don't let your non-negotiables be something like, oh, she has to be hot, like this hot. She has to be like a 10 or 11, or he has to be 6'5". Like you can't say that as a girl. You can't. You know how many guys are 6'5"? Like I think it's 11%.
Yeah.
The statistics are 11%. And then the average woman around the world is like 5'2". Dude, are y'all 5'2" girls going to be fighting for the 11% of 6'5" guys? No, right? So you have to set negotiable or non-negotiable, might I say, non-negotiable things that you don't want to trade on. So for example, your values. What are your values? Your worldview. What is your worldview? Hopefully you'll be with somebody who will have the same values as you, who will have the same not the same interests or hobbies, but you can have the same worldview, because you have to be equally yoked in that. Because if you don't, then your relationship won't work.
Do you think feminism has a part in that ideology that women are just having unrealistic standards at this point? Like feminism is promoting you have to be picky. You have to if you want a guy that's 6'5", he absolutely, like there's no like. Do you think is that the reason why feminism? Like
I think third wave feminism tells women that they're already perfect the way that they are. They say you're perfect just that way. You don't have to change anything. And you should just look for what you want. But thing is, you're not perfect. We're all not perfect. We were all saved by grace. And that's the beauty of it. You're not perfect. And once you do some introspection and you start looking within and you say, oh, maybe me biting my fingernails isn't really attractive. And this guy doesn't really like that about me. Like, I don't like him, whatever, burping or whatever, or like scratching somewhere, doing something that is annoying to you. Then you can start saying, oh, well, this is where I can compromise. Women aren't willing to compromise. Some men I've met are not willing to compromise. They're like, she either has to be like this or I don't want it. So, I mean, you have to learn how to compromise as a normal human being in a relationship, marriage, because hopefully that is the end goal with it, because you're not just in a relationship to have fun. If you're just having fun, then, I mean, you can totally pull off the bad boy thing and you don't need to be looking for a high value woman and a woman who's in that whole, like, do whatever I want phase and I'm a bachelorette and I can do OnlyFans and just do whatever I want. You're not looking for a high value man either. This is only applicable to people who want a high value man or a high value woman because they want to build something, hopefully a marriage, because that is the end goal of a relationship. It's having a family, right? So you do that by choosing what you want. You have to choose if you're going to be a high value man or if you're just wanting to play around and mess around. And that's fine.
100% agree with what you were saying. I think that's a really mature outlook. I just remembering how I was in my 20s. I'm a lot older than most. So I remember what I was like back then. And, people's people's goals, life goals, and things that they are looking for evolve over time. I would hope so. But I remember how I was like what I was like in my 20s, and there were definitely certain people that I was interested in that I pursued that I knew it just wasn't going to work out, and I just tried so hard instead of just moving on. And now I know exactly what I want. If I go on a date with someone, I get straight to the point. I know exactly what I'm looking for. And I don't waste time with people. I mean, I give people a chance, but I'm not going to waste time with someone who I think doesn't really align with the things that I want out of another person, the things that I want out of life, the kind of partner that I'm looking for. So I think that's really important to keep that in mind, because you're just going to ultimately make yourself, I think for guys specifically, they're having this challenge, is you're just going to make yourself miserable. That's really what it boils down to if you just do that.
I completely agree with that. Actually, Mo, do you want to say something, or I was going to jump in real quick?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you're going to find a lot of women who have these unrealistic expectations of men, right? And something that is a consolation even for me, because I know that there are a lot of men who have unrealistic expectations. It's that there's this book, it's called Marry Him, Mr. Good Enough. And she talks about all these expectations that women have. And she literally says, at the end of the day, the value of men and women in dating changes. And women hate hearing this. My friends, some of my girlfriends, they hate when I say this, but it's just true, because dating is it's like a business. It really is. It goes up, it goes down, it fluctuates. And women are at their peak when they're in their 20s, maybe like early 30s, and men age like fine wine. Like, they get better with time, because you know what, you're starting to build your wealth and you're starting to build your maturity. And even as a guy, you're really mature at the age of like 28, 27, right? So at that age, that's when it's perfect. You guys are right in the middle. Both men and women are just tip top. And then women just start making these unrealistic expectations and having these unrealistic expectations of men. So they're going to end up in their late 40s, maybe married once, or maybe not even married at all, and just having given their best years to one guy for 10 years, like long relationships that never come to anything, because they didn't know what they wanted in the long run. They didn't have a life goal. They didn't have an end goal with that relationship. And then they're in their 40s, and then they're alone. And it's much more difficult as a woman to find somebody in your 40s than it was when you were like 20. So most of the times I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you wanted to get married when you were 20, but you started dating all the wrong guys, and you left the right guy in the friend zone because you were having all these unrealistic expectations.
I have a girl. I'm in a friend zone with some girl, and I hope she hears this. Oh my god. I mean, it's so, like, I don't even know what to say, because it's literally what I think. It's what so I thank you for you saying that. And it's still, here's the thing, Giulianna. The thing is, are you single right now?
Yes, I am single.
So your future partner, I know you have a very strong value system and belief system in what you consider a high value man. However, it's hard for me to believe that, for example, Brad Pitt comes up to you and says, "Hey, let's go away together." I don't know. Like, well, I don't believe it. There's something
you can't say that. I think that this is your issue, is that you're focusing on what this person will do or say. You can't control that. You can't, unfortunately. Personally, if Brad Pitt was to come up to me and say that, I'd be like, dude, you're way too old. Bye. Like, no. And even if somebody in my own age group would come up to me, it really depends. It comes down and it boils down to the person itself for me, and I know for a lot of other women out there are a lot of women who think like this, they just stay silent. It's the same thing with guys. You know, guys who are gentlemen or who are chivalrous will hide that because they don't want to get yelled at by somebody, somebody who's more politically correct. The only thing that you can do, and the best advice that I give to myself and I give to everybody around me, is to be the best version of yourself that you can be, because that's the only thing you have control over. So, I mean, you can continue to think, oh, I can't believe that somebody like you wouldn't say no to somebody like him.
I mean,
Or you can work on yourself and make yourself the person that you would like. Look at yourself and say, okay, I would like to be like Brad Pitt or like Drake or whatever. So I'm going to make myself the way that I see myself in that light. For me, I would hopefully expect that a guy would look to somebody who's perfect, like, you know, like God. For me, I'm very religious. I think Jesus is perfect. So as a woman and as a man, you should be envisioning yourself and trying to make yourself more of a better person, and maybe hopefully in the perception of God.
Right.
Whereas other people will say, you know what, my idol is Drake, my idol is this, so I'll make myself into that person. You don't have to make yourself into that person, but you can start drawing qualities from people you meet. That is part of life. You know, you go through life and you have to have some trial and error. You make mistakes and you say, oh, this worked and this didn't work, so I'm going to try this, and if this different approach works, then I'm going to be like that, and I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be loyal. They're just basic common sense points that constitutes a good person, that makes up a good person. So be that and then stick to that, and then hopefully you'll meet the right person, you know?
There's two things. One, I actually just going back to what you said earlier, I want to push back that guys mature at 27, 28, because I feel it's more like 40, because I just turned 40 and I feel like I'm only now just starting to feel like an adult.
And even then, you don't even mature in your 40s. I think men really are boys up until they die, because you just gather all the guys around and they start talking about a man cave and like, oh yeah, we can have this and we can have like a bar here and you're always a boy. And that's what's so wonderful about guys. You just have that young purity to you, which is fun and it's great. I'm not saying it like that. I think maturity, there's a different type of emotional maturity, maybe emotional intelligence, that you achieve once in your 20s, 28, 29. You start realizing that the world doesn't work the way you thought it was when you were an idealist, right? So you're like, oh, well, the world is more like this. So
I think it's very. I think it's Mo. I'll let you go in a second. But one thing I think it's very perilous for men is that they get wrapped. Doesn't matter any age group, but some people get so wrapped up. Their whole identity is wrapped up in this one specific area of their life. Like, I'll just, as an example, let's say you're really into racing cars, right? I'm a race car driver. My whole life is race. And so I think when you're so singularly focused, that really starts to when you're looking for a life partner, I think that really starts to, you may not even be aware of it, but I think that really starts to narrow who you're looking for. Like, oh, I got to find somebody who's really into cars or some aspect of cars. And then the disappointment happens when they can't find somebody like that. And that, I think that's something that can bite you pretty easily if you're not careful.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Actually, that's funny that you say that, because that's what the book, the Marry Mr. Good Enough, is about. It's about women having these unrealistic standards because they expect somebody to be like this, and then they narrow their what is it? I forgot, the word escaped me. It's in Spanish. Their like their dating pool. The dating pool is narrowed because they're looking for somebody who is just interested in their interests. And you can make a great relationship with somebody who isn't interested at all in race cars, for example.
Absolutely.
In that type of, you can have a wonderful relationship who with somebody who likes a lot, like reading, they just read a lot and they don't like race cars at all. You can have a wonderful relationship where you both are meshing these two things together, and you're like, oh, I actually really like reading. I like that she reads to me, and I'll take her on a drive on the race car, and it's fun. You know, I think that's a really dumb way of measuring a relationship or putting a standard on it or capping it, is they have to be interested in the same things that I am. That's why I say one of my 3 non-negotiables is values, principles, and morals. What are your worldview? These are all the things that are actually important in a relationship. Your interests, I don't care about your interests as long as it's not killing people, as long as it's not being a stalker, whatever is exaggerated like that, as long as it's not that, and your values and your principles and your worldview align kind of with mine, or hopefully mostly with mine, then we can find common ground in our likes and dislikes, in our hobbies and my hobbies, whatever. We can find middle ground. That's compromising.
Would you say it's fair to say that a lot of guys are almost looking for themselves in their partner, which to me is a weird idea? I don't want somebody who's exactly like me.
Right. No, I do notice that a lot. I think it's kind of silly. I see it in women too. Women want somebody, they want a guy who will listen to their pains and sorrows. They don't want somebody who will solve them. They just want somebody to listen to them. They want somebody who will braid their hair and treat them nicely and paint their nails. But that's why you have girlfriends. That's why you have friends. That's what a friend will do. A guy, like what I would look for in a guy is somebody who would, if I'm bringing my problem to him, he'll be like, okay, this is what we can solve it with. This is what I would like to do. This is how I can help you. This is whatever, do man stuff. This is what a guy does. This is inherently built into the male psyche, is to be a provider, is to be a solver, is to whatever, right? And for women just like to be heard, and that's why some guys have started going to, okay, well, do you want me to hear you out? Do you want me to have empathy for you right now, or do you want me to help you solve this issue? I think there's a lot of like a lack of communication between both genders. I think if you're just straight up about your intentions, if you're just straight up about your intentions and about, hey, this is what I want, oh, hey, I'm just like in my F-boy phase, I just want to like mess around, are you cool with that? Or, hey, I'm actually looking for a relationship, are you cool with that? Are you looking for a relationship too? If you just say it like that, people will understand what you're looking for.
I think your mentality changes too, because when you're in your 20s, I think you're a lot more hesitant to really communicate clearly what you're looking for, what your concerns are, what your wants are, what your needs are. And maybe some guys are typically, I think men are a little bit more guarded about their emotions, their feelings. They don't necessarily show it because they maybe some feel like it's a sign of weakness. I don't know how you feel about that, Mo. But I think that definitely changes over time. Like now where I'm at in my life, like I just do not care. I will say exactly, I will tell you exactly what I want. I will tell you exactly what I need. And in my experience, where I'm at now, that seems to work better for me. My relationships now are, I would hope, they feel more successful than they were back when I was in my 20s, as they should be, because you learn stuff over time. You figure out what works and what doesn't work. Mo, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, well, on that, I personally, I've never had an issue. You turned off my mic again, man. Is it? Okay, it is on. Never mind. I've never had an issue with showing my emotion. I'm actually a little bit too emotional. I've been open about mental health and how I work with a therapist and stuff like that. And I never thought of it as a sign of weakness. And if people thought, oh, you're a guy, you're being soft or whatever, and you're showing your emotions, I don't really care about that, to be honest. Listening to you guys talk about it just seems a little bit too it's like a little bit unrealistic, and you just seem little like you guys are idealists in a world where the whole time you guys were speaking about all of this, I kept thinking about evolution and how back in medieval times, back in caveman times, I'm not too knowledgeable about this, so I'm going to use bro vocab, but women back then would want the strongest man that would provide, that would protect, that would bring supply and tools, and would give them the best
Protection.
Yes, exactly. Protection, the best outcome for their offspring in terms of what they, what they have as offspring. And I still think that is applicable to today's day and age. So
it is for sure. But that's why you become a high value man, and you become a provider, and you become somebody who's reliable, and you become somebody who's strong and who's independent and who's loving and kind.
So that's my point though. Like as of right now, I am not on the same level as Drake. Okay? I agree with, and I can admit that. And I'm working towards bettering myself in terms of, financially, social dynamic, gaining more reputation, whatever. But as of right now, I am not on the same level. So if I am with a woman, if I'm with my girlfriend and she decides to leave me for Drake, it's like, I don't blame her. I don't know if that, I don't blame her based on what evolution has told us and what evolution has taught us in terms of offspring and wanting the best, next best thing, the next best provider. I understand. So I just don't, I almost have this guard. I have this pessimistic view on things in terms of, I don't know if it makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and it makes total sense. I guess I could ask you, well, what are the chances that your girlfriend's going to pick up and leave and go find Drake,
Well,
and then if that does happen, if that slim chance does come to happen, then do you know how fast Drake will drop her? I mean, she should know. If she's a high value woman, if you are dating a high value woman, then she would know that if she leaves you, because supposedly the grass is greener on the other side, in her mind, the grass is greener on the other side, and she starts dating Drake.
Yeah.
Why do we keep
I mean,
saying
that's
Drake?
that's an extreme example.
If she starts
mean?
doing that, I understand.
Yeah.
But if she starts saying Drake and she starts dating Drake, and then she realizes that he's going to leave her, why would she leave you in the first place if she's a high value woman? I think that, yeah, I understand what you're saying. There is this whole social perception that the grass is greener on the other side, and that has to do with social media. Your instant gratification. You have your phone, you open up Tinder. I never had Tinder. I've never had Tinder. I know a bunch of girls who've never had Tinder, just as I've met a bunch of girls who have. But if you have Tinder, you open Tinder, instant gratification. You say, oh, look, this person looks like that, this person doesn't. I'm gonna slide right, swipe left, swipe right, whatever. And it's the epitome of judging a book by its cover. And everybody hates being judged, right? I think judging is the first thing that somebody does when they're in a conversation. When they meet somebody, you're starting to make an assessment of how that person is, what their ideologies are, how they're going to hold themselves out in life, what they do, whatever. You're making small judgments. It's little things that you're marking down for later. You're like, oh, pocket save. This is what I know about them now. And that's why you just become the best version that you can of yourself. I completely understand what you're saying, but if you get stuck on that, the thing is, you will constantly bring yourself down. And this is something that I've struggled with. I'm like, but what if this person leaves me for this? Or what if this person doesn't like me because of this? Or whatever. If I were to just continue with that mentality, if I was just to get stuck in that rut, I wouldn't be able to come out of it, and I would ruin my own chances for happiness. So I think whenever we're trying to figure out why this, why that, why, we're trying to figure out something that really doesn't have a response, because every opinion, every situation is subjective, right? We're all different. And there are exceptions to the rule, but there is a rule for a reason, which is why there are generalizations, right? But you can't get stuck in that rut, because you will ruin your own chances at life. So
you're just that's a really good point. You're already holding yourself down from improving yourself in whatever way it is, because you're just comparing to someone that's
And there's always going to be somebody better than you. This is actually something that Jordan Peterson talks about. He's like, there's always going to be somebody better than you. That's what's so cool about capitalism, right? You can improve yourself. You can be way up here, and then you can go all the way down here. Doesn't matter. You have the chance to change that. That is in your hands. And if that is in your hands, then take advantage of it. Become the best version that you can of yourself, because literally nobody is like you either. I think there's a flip side to that, because I can be very optimistic and idealistic when I'm around friends, but when I'm alone with myself and I'm talking and I'm just like thinking to myself these things, I'll think really depressive things, right? And I'll be very pessimistic about my own outlook on life or my own situation. And there really is no reason to do that, because you are so different from anybody else that is in the world. You just are different. That is just how God made us. He made us different. And it just is. I mean, you have to start focusing on different things. You have to move your focus from this issue here and move it to here. It's just a shift of focus in that case.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard with so much stimulus and social media coming at you at once, and just what's considered a high value man, high value woman, I don't know.
But that's also part of being a high value man and a high value woman, because these things are difficult and they are hard. Like self-control is difficult, self-discipline is difficult, but this is part of being a high value man and woman, is that you have self-discipline, you have control over your emotions, you have emotional intelligence, you have control over the things that you get to think about, and sometimes I think a lot of people succumb to their body rather than to their mind. I remember there was this story of this amazing Russian guy, okay, and he would wake up every morning at 5 a.m, and he had like this tiny little house far out wherever he was living, and he would walk at 5 a.m down to the river near his house, and he would break the ice. Okay, during winter, Russian man, ice, breaks the ice, and he would dive under the ice and come back and then go back inside. Why would he do that? He would do that to show that he has control over his body. His body did not want to get in cold water. His body did not want to go under that ice and swim back and forth and then get back out. His body did not want to do that, but he exerted mind over body. This is another thing that goes into like relationships. A lot of people jump into relationships. They don't even jump into relationships. They jump into hookup culture, and then they start having sex with each other, and they think this isn't going to affect me long term. This is just going to be fine. This goes into feminism as well. Women are taught to be more like men and say, you know what, I can just have sex with whoever I feel like it because I won't feel anything. But for both men and women, you will feel something. You're going to start forming an attachment. Oxytocin is called the cuddle hormone for a reason, so this is all going to become an attachment to that person. And if you jump into that, well, you've just sabotaged yourself. Right. You've already sabotaged yourself. So it's about mind over body. You get to choose when, where, who, why. You get to control that. And when you're subjected to, TikTok, your phone, YouTube, everything that is just constantly feeding into your mind, you're constantly, learning and being entertained and whatever, you're going to cap. It's going to be like system overload at one point. And you just have to have self-control and say, you know what, I'm going to put my phone down at 7 p.m. every day. Confidence actually is built by you making promises to yourself and keeping those promises to yourself. This is actually something I struggle with. And it sucks because I'll say, okay, I'm going to do this. Like I'll wake up at 6 and I'll work out. Now I wake up at 6, but do I immediately work out like I said I would? No. And then because of that, consequently, I'm going to feel like I've defrauded myself and I've self-sabotaged because, oh my gosh, I just made a promise to myself that I didn't keep. Right? So the thing is because we have control over our bodies, we should start keeping our promises that we make to ourselves, becoming the better version of ourselves that we can be, and then enjoy our life from then on out because you are being intentional, you're going to be, like Alex said, he was intentional. He doesn't care at this point because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. Like, let me just get really morbid here. We're all going to die, and you only get to live
Really?
once.
I didn't know. Damn. Fuck.
Right? Yeah, but we only get to live once. And so go enjoy life, be intentional, do the right things. I don't understand why a lot of people have to go ahead and touch that hot burner to know that it's hot and say, I'm just going to burn my hand here and let me just burn it over and over and over again. This is a metaphorical mistake making process. Is you're just going to continue making these mistakes and then finally see, oh my, I really burned my hand. Like, you don't need to do that. You can live vicariously through so many people who have gone through so many stupid situations, and you can learn from that. It's really not that difficult. It's just common sense at the end of the day.
Damn. It's a lot. That's really good.
Very well said.
Yeah.
I unless you had some other points, I think that's probably a good spot.
Oh, DMing. I want to know about that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, let's go into this fun part of the episode.
Yeah.
How to slide into the DMs.
I mean, like I always tell this to people. Instagram's basically a dating tool now. Like what you put on your profile, your feed, what you portray yourself on Instagram is, I think it's even more effective than Tinder, to be honest. Because on Instagram, at least, you know, under your like you can see people commenting, you can see that this person, as low as it sounds, the more likes you get, the more, oh, this guy has more engagement, he must be cooler, he must be, you know, he must be something that people look up to or respect, or something about him that they like, right? So I mean, DMing, I've DM'd, obviously. I mean, who hasn't? Yeah, I really want to, not just for me, but like for men listening, because women don't really DM. I mean, I've had a few. No, that's a lie. So more women should DM, by the way. I think that's
I think it would be easier for women to reach out to guys and they wouldn't get rejected. But I don't think that really does anything for masculinity, in the sense that it gives you a sense of accomplishment once you've gained the date with this high value woman that you want to date. So, I mean, it's just taking an accomplishment away from a high value man, I think. Now, if there's somebody who a girl likes, you know, and she's on Instagram and she finds him on Instagram or through a TikTok video. Actually, I do have somebody for my podcast who's going to be on. His name is Sean Havens, and he met his now wife on Instagram. She DM'd him and she was like, hey, I love your TikToks. But granted, we just have to say that she was also a very successful woman. She was an actress. And so, I mean, she's a high value woman that he saw, oh, well, she's an actress too. That's really cool. So you kind of have to be high value both on two ends for it to work, I think. But I don't really think much about the whole DMing process. I get DMs, and I think the most effective DMs are the DMs that actually ask you about something interesting that you said. Like, I go live a lot on TikTok. I'll do a lot of lives on TikTok, on both TikTok accounts, on my personal one and on my Dear Lovers one. And I'll get DMs from people who were on my live, who came on and just popped in and said hi or whatever. And they'll DM me and say, I really like that topic that you were talking about, or I really thought about this. And I've noticed that those are the messages that I would respond to. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm glad that person was affected by something that I said, and that it was affected in a positive way. Or if they respond in a negative light, where it's like, oh, I didn't really like what you said, but what do you think about this? That will incentivize me to respond. So if I'm giving advice to people who are going to DM, I would say actually have a relationship with this person, like know what they were saying, or participate on like a video that they said something or whatever. I'm more of the opinion that you should meet people organically. I have a lot of friends that I've met through social media, but I prefer meeting relationship status men personally and like organically in person, and it just comes out more natural. But I'm not saying that it isn't possible to start a relationship through Instagram, because Sean Havens, he got married through wife that
Yeah.
is now wife with this girl
Well,
he met on Instagram.
what are some of the way, like, replying to a story, heart eye emoji, you know, that's a classic.
Heart eye emoji will never work. I think
I know.
emoji won't ever work. Fire emoji won't ever work.
The fire's
Replying
the
to
best
story,
because not even like, yeah.
have something of value to say. You know, I remember I posted a story the other day, and I was just like, I was trying to be an aesthetic girly. You know, I just got my hair done, and it was looking really cute. I was just sitting there and I was recording, and this girl in the back, she laughed really loudly, and it was like a really obnoxious laugh. It was like you could hear it for miles.
Wait,
And
on Insta, like was this on
on
live?
no, this was on Instagram. I just posted like a little story
Okay.
where I was just sitting down, like playing with my hair, and it was in the sun or whatever. And I looked over because this girl was laughing so loud. It was really obnoxious. And I looked over. I was like, "Are you okay?" And then somebody replied to my story and was like, "It was like, I didn't know the Joker was in town or something like that. What's the
Oh
Joker doing in your
shoot.
town?"
Yeah.
And it was just a funny thing to say. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, probably looking for Batman. That's how you start a conversation organically through stories or something like that. I think that's a cool way to do it. Don't go hard at it. Don't be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. I definitely want to, like, I want to start dating you. Are you up to
Yeah.
meeting me?" Like, that's kind of going too
I
hard.
love you and I
Hardcore.
want to.
Like, I love you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just weird when people do that. I don't
I think that's
understand
pretty
it.
cool. It just DM someone. I think you're really hot and I want to like be with you
That
every
doesn't
moment
work.
of the day.
That's just
It
weird.
doesn't
But
work. It's weird. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I think
Fuck, I
people
gotta
should
stop.
why don't people just use dating apps if they want to meet people?
No,
Why
no.
are they
Oh,
sending
I'm
No,
sorry.
for
Dating apps are the worst thing ever. Dating apps are just, I think, if you are going for the hookup thing, go for dating apps. That's for you. If you just want to hook up and meet people for fun, that's for you. But if you are trying to find like a good relationship with a high value woman or man, that's not really going to work. You can't go to a bar either. The thing that I recommend to people, I say go to church. Go find somebody at church. Get involved in your local church. If it's not at church, go to like a study event. Maybe go to a college campus. Like go to a college campus library and sit at a college campus library, and then approach somebody and say something. It's so easy to approach a girl and say, "Hey, where's the library at?" And they'll point at it, and then you can say,
while
"Oh,
you're in the
can you walk
library.
me there?" If you're not in the library.
Okay. I was gonna.
If you're just on campus and you're walking around, there's actually this guy that I follow on TikTok. He does exactly that. He'll go to campuses, and he's like 25, and he asks a random girl, "Hey, where's the library at?" And then she points at it, and he's like, "Good, because I was actually looking for your phone number." And she
Oh
giggles, and he's like,
shit.
and she giggles, and she's like, "Oh, haha." And then she kind of turns away, and he's like, "No, but seriously, I thought that you were really attractive. I just wanted to come over and introduce myself. My name is John Appleseed."
Right.
And then she's like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. Yeah, my name's this." And then you say, "Hey, can I get your phone number? I'd love to take you out on a date sometime." And she's like, "Oh yeah, here you go." More than willing to. So if you guys are afraid of approaching girls, don't be. Do it a couple times. Maybe you'll get rejected. Fine. What's the worst thing that can happen? She
Yeah.
says no, and you never see her again. Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
Alex, you want to do this? Let's go. Come on, man. Let's go. Just me and you, man. Let's go to down the street and just like
Do it
talk.
and record it and get it on TikTok.
Man.
It'll
That might get some
viral.
views. It's not
people
something
do
I
that,
would
though.
do,
There's
but
so many guys
that
on-
might get some views.
Yeah, so many people on YouTube do that, and like I get it. Like I've done it before too, and it's not really like it is pretty nerve-wracking. Let's be honest.
It is nerve-wracking, but you know what?
Oh my
It builds
God.
character. It builds character, dude.
Yeah.
Like you'll feel so giddy when she actually says yes. You'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So definitely do it. Go for it. It's fun, and it's just something to do in life. Like seriously, you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just be hopeful and try to focus on something else. Focus your attention on a different perception.
Yeah. It's all about perspective at the end of the day. I agree. Oh man, I want to talk about so much more, but I feel like we've already,
Dude, this has been a really cool conversation.
I really like
thank
this
you for having me on.
Absolutely.
I would love to have both of you on my podcast at some point so we can talk more about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally like we're like I feel like we should have more episodes where we talk about these things again, because there's so much more to unravel, honestly. Like I feel like I still have so many things to say, but like it would take like 5 hours. And one thing, the screen in front of me has gone completely AWOL, and Giulianna, I haven't been looking at you the whole time, so if you see me like wandering around my eyes, it's
No,
actually
me too. I've been wondering, but guys, I apologize for my crappy video right now. I have to get myself a cool Panasonic. Don't you worry, don't you fret. I'm going to get there.
all good,
No
don't worry.
worries. Yeah, it was great having you on. Thank you very much, Giulianna Ome, and Dear Lovers Podcast. That's where people can find you at. And of course, social media, where should people subscribe? What's your handle?
Okay, so you guys can find me on Instagram at Giulianna Ome, Giuliannaome. I know that's a mouthful, but dude, do it. You won't regret it. And on Dear Lovers, at Dear Lovers. And on TikTok or on YouTube, that's where you can go subscribe. You can just look up Giulianna Ome presents Dear Lovers.
Great. We'll put a link in the show notes as well so people can find you. You have a really handy link tree.
I've worked on that actually. Yeah, to
it
make
looks
it a
good.
little more
Yeah.
organized.
Got everything on there.
So much better than ours. Ours is just like plain like
Plain Jane.
Spotify.
I appreciate the plainness though. I mean, I think it's easy to work with too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I'm very thankful that you came on. We'll definitely do this again. I think this is one of those things where we can have a reoccurring thing. Yeah, we'll we're gonna support your podcast and everything you do with it. So thank you for coming on,
let's support each other mutually. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, we will send you. This will be out when? Probably next week, Alex?
Yeah, it'll be next week.
Awesome. Okay. This was what was this, episode 20? I always forget.
This is 27.
Episode 27 with Giulianna Ome, life coach, has the podcast
Dear Lovers.
Yes.
Dear Lovers.
And,
there you go.
Social media influencer, honestly. And thank you for coming on, and enjoy your 24. I mean, what else can we say, really?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.